Hey there, welcome to Prog Monster. My name is Murph. I am the host of this show. This is a show that is dedicated to progressive rock and other forms of rock music. So here we are, starting March 1st, we're starting a new series. This is going to be called The Battle of the Bands. I didn't want to do anything too fancy here. Basically, this is going to be about hard rock bands. So bands that range from that top almost metal sound all the way down to a kind of a power pop type music too. I've discussed this with Ben, and we decided, or he's going to give me the bands as he did in the Great Prog War, and we decided to change it up a little bit and not do necessarily bands that you would know commonplace as hard rock bands. We're going to try to give those ones that fall a bit under the radar screen, the tier 2 if you like bands, try to give them some attention. There's a lot of really solid hard rock bands out there for whatever reason didn't quite make that commercial breakthrough that a lot of these bands are attempting to try and do. It's not like prog bands who don't necessarily care about the commercial sound of their music. They're there to make music. A lot of hard rock bands their measure of success is if they can get hits, and a lot of these bands had some great music, but for whatever reason, either they were too early or they were too late into this type of music, or they didn't have the right kind of management, or maybe they were on the wrong label, or maybe they were an off-beat place or an off the beaten track place that they were playing in, or maybe they didn't get the radio airplay they wanted. There's all kinds of different factors that play into this, but all these bands we are trying to give here we just want to give them some attention so that people know. Many people may know them very well, but for whatever reason they didn't quite make the kind of jump, and there may be a couple in here that did make the jump, but for the most part that's the type of bands we're going to be doing. So this battle today is the first one in the series. I've got the first 8 battles already organized. But this will be the first one. I've listened to both of these albums once. The first one is called Masters Apprentices, and this album is choice cuts, 10 tracks on it. Really, really solid album. It's got its hard rock parts, and it's got its kind of ballady, quieter stuff. Also has a few tracks that are almost, got some kind of folky elements to them. Lots of you can tell clearly that their music came from a kind of a bluesy background, but definitely like really, really good, solid riffing. Like they have lots of catchy riffs on their songs. Not quite as hard as the band they're going up against, which is Buffalo, and their album, which is called Volcanic Rock. That's a definite hard rock album, much harder than the Masters Apprentices, and closer more to a kind of almost pushing the envelope, almost a metal band, but not quite. They don't really have that metal sound, but they're right there with the heaviness of the albums. This one had 10 tracks on it, the Masters Apprentice, whereas the Buffalo only had 6 tracks on it, and the last 3 tracks were fairly long on that album. So with Masters Apprentice, the song that I liked the most was Easy to Lie. I think this real catchy riffs, really great song, fantastic, just real catchy beat. And a lot of their songs are like that, very catchy band. Got some solid musicians here. When I say solid, I mean they're better than average, they're good, very solid musicians. So you've got, I don't know the name, I knew the names, but I'm not going to give the name, it doesn't really matter. We're just talking about the groups in general here for the first time around. As I move along in these battles, the bands that get through more, I will know more about, and then there'll be more to talk about. So for me, this was a bit of a tough choice, because the other band, Buffalo, all their songs were really heavy, but they were really good too. They had a lot of heavy riffing in it. The last 3 tracks on their album were really good, and I'm actually just going to search them out now so I can talk a little bit about their music as well. and I apologize if this takes a bit of time. I'm just trying out a new way of doing things. And there we go. And I'm still getting used to this computer. It's taking me a long time. I tend to be a little bit slow on the technology part of it. Yeah. Volcanic Rock, it was their second album, whereas for Master's Apprentice, that was their third album. I believe theirs was released in 71, and this one appears to be released in 73. So they're relatively speaking within the same genre. The song I liked best by them was The Prophet. Really heavy song. The longest, one of the longer tracks on the album, not the longest. Freedom was the longest. So their tracks tend to be a little bit longer, but there's the difference between the two is one of them had, as I said, had some folky elements, some quieter moments, some heavy riffing elements. This one is all bombast and heavy. This is a heavy album. They all their songs fall within that same range, but very solid album. I think this album kind of would if you're a Nazareth fan in the Hair of the Dog type of era, this would fall well within that sound range that you would like. I'm not sure where these guys were from. I'm just going to take a quick look here and see if I can find anything on where they're from. Dave Tice, Peter Wells, John Baxter, Jimmy Economua, I think is the drummer. Anyways, that's the band. Like, this is a solid, heavy band. There's no arguments there from me. Yeah, I'm not really sure where we're coming from with these guys. So let me see if I can get it to go back a little bit so I can answer some stuff about them. Ah, they're Australian. Okay, that makes sense. Definitely got that Australian sound to them too. So, yeah. So it was a bit tough for me on this particular thing because I liked both bands for very different reasons. I liked the kind of more wider range stuff that they did on Master's Apprentice. You know, their lyrics are really good, and their songs range are a little bit different. They have their heavy riffing stuff. I don't think it's as heavy as the Buffalo, but definitely have some heavy riffing, but they have some really well orchestrated songs, and that appealed to me quite a bit. And there's some stuff that closer to the pop range wasn't too bad. I could have seen this band easily being a fairly large band if they could have just got some breaks. You know, I'm not sure what the reasoning why they didn't make it, but definitely they're well within that venue of those kind of, you know, their music. It doesn't really sound like Cheap Trick or anything like that, but definitely falls within the range of that kind of power sound, right? Where Buffalo is much heavier, definitely in a Nazareth range, but really solid. Like, even though their music wasn't as varied, I guess is a good word to put it. Like, all the songs fell within the same kind of stature, I guess maybe you might want to call it. But I did appreciate that they really knew how to put some heavy stuff into their music. So I had to choose one. Which one's more intriguing to me? I think the Buffalo one is in the short term. I think it would be the band that I would choose to listen to more. But and this is a common trait for me for hard rock bands. A lot of them I like a lot right initially, and then they kind of fade fairly quickly. Some of them are able to hold the ground a little bit better. And the ones that tend to hold the ground more tend to be the ones whose music is a little bit more varied. They may have some hard stuff, they may have some more poppy stuff, they may have some more folky elements to their music, or they may have some maybe some more bluesy trends to their music. Those bands tend to, for over a long period of time, tend to hold up better for me than just the hard rock ones. In this case, the Buffalo one is very strong. So I'm still debating it, you know, like, to me they're like neck and neck here. This is not an easy choice. So I think they're both about even as far as their initial impact on me. So then the next thing that comes to my mind is, which one of them do I think I'm going to appreciate going forward here, that I'm more interested in listening more to their music? And my gut tells me that I will enjoy the Master's Apprentice more in the long run than I will in the Buffalo. So for today, as good as Buffalo was, and they were very good here, I think we're going to have to go with Master's Apprentices, just because I just think overall their music is probably better. It's suited to me, and ultimately I think it'll pursue me to a greater height, and so I want to see where it's going to go. If Buffalo had a little edge even here, I would have probably given it to them, but because they were both, to me, even, I couldn't distinguish between the two as far as which one I liked more. I decided to go with the one I think has a little more potential. So for today, Master's Apprentice will move on to the next round, and Buffalo will go by the wayside, but please check out both of these albums. I think you will enjoy them both. If you like that Nazareth sound, this is a band. I think Buffalo definitely is in that range, heavy-wise. Anyways, I hope that you enjoyed this episode. We'll be doing more. This is the inaugural first episode, and I hope you like. Please like and subscribe. It's much appreciated. And we'll be back on day 2 with another battle between 2 more hard rock bands. So take care. Bye.